the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, Season 4. Let's go, baby. Yeah. There was a time I had trouble talking about it. Congratulate them, we know they doubted. Somehow we made it up out the pit, back against the wall, never quit. Traversing through each obstacle, show a non-believer what's possible. Let nothing they could do stand in between me and my wildest dreams. Let's go. And that come at us could come in between. Life gave me the worst, yet my side grew so green. We've been down in the dirt, been tossed in the trash, but I never stray from my path. When we're gone, we ain't looking back.
Maybe we were all way too high. Maybe that's our fault.
It's going to be a crazy time, but it's going to be a fun time.
Life is boring if you don't take some chances and do some things outside the box.
Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice. All right. It is Tuesday, January 10th, 2023, baby. The fantasy football season, it might be over, but the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast is just beginning, guys. Seth Wilcock back with you tonight. I'm joined by a man who not only hates college football, hates Canadian football, hates XFL football, UFL football, and European football, along with the book publisher, Scholastic. Guys, give it up for the one, the only, one of the most toxic people around, Nathan Polvote. Nate, how are you today? The season that we call fantasy football, it is over, but the NFL playoffs, they just begin.
That was such a kind intro, man. I don't even know how to follow that up here. Like, to be clear, I don't hate any of those things. And I'm starting to get back into college football, so there you go.
Okay.
I'm excited for the playoffs, man. This is the time of year where absolutely anything is possible. Bummed about that stinker of a game last night because I was really rooting for TCU.
I agree, man. I agree. We were on your player profiler show just before that. I was riding TCU, so didn't win any money last night, but we are going to help the people win some money during the playoffs. We have our best playoff bets, including our Super Bowl prediction, some prop bets in there as well that I'm really excited to get to, Nate. Also have Black Monday reaction. It was kind of a quieter Black Monday than we've seen in years past, but there were some firings that will impact fantasy teams moving forward, whether you're playing Dynasty Fantasy Football or Redraft, so something to keep in mind as well. And then we're going to round it out with our guy Kyle Scott coming in, the fearless audio editor here in a game of Ring of Fire. As always, we appreciate Kyle riding shotgun with us here. Kyle, how are you doing tonight in the back end, buddy?
I'm doing good. You guys are sounding fantastic so far.
That's what I like to hear. Also like to hear from the IBT family tonight, guys. We already got Brad in the chat before we went live. And also my man, Albert. Good to see you both. Always appreciate you. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome in. We're just getting the party started here in the new year with some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy sports analysis. Guys, if you want to give us a thumbs up on this video, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. It really does help us. So we greatly appreciate it. And Nate, let's go ahead and jump right into it here with some front and center.
Sometimes taking that first step out the door is the hardest thing to do. Give it a chance, you'll be begging for more. Save the spot just for you. We're all somewhere in between.
How about you come to the place
Just
we
try
can
to
have some fun? Ain't gotta worry about knowing not what it means. Keep on coming, give me another, cause the night is young.
At least I so thought.
This just in. Breaking news. Front and center.
All right, front and center. Let's get into Black Monday, Nate. It was kind of a quieter one, but we've already seen 3 head coaches fired so far this season, during the season. Nathaniel Hackett from the Broncos, Frank Wright of the Colts, and of course, Matt Rule, our Penn State guy here from the Carolina Panthers. But it was headlined by Kliff Kingsbury, fired by the Arizona Cardinals. And this kind of just felt like a mutual parting, if we're being honest. He looked peeved off half the time on the sideline. Didn't ever really look like in his tenure there that he ever got along with Kyler Murray. Just one playoff appearance for him in his tenure here, Nate. The top candidates to replace him are Shane Steichen of the Eagles offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey, of course, from the Buffalo Bills, and Vance Joseph already on the staff there. what were your overall takeaways from Kliff exiting the building in Arizona? He's obviously leaving a very rich man. And how do you think this impacts the Cardinals?
Well, I think it's interesting in that they owed him so much money still, and they disliked him so much. And we talked about this last night that they let him walk. So how bad does this organization feel like he was? A, and B, Steve Keim retired. So they're almost starting from scratch. And it actually sounds like they're looking for a GM first. They're interviewing a former Giants GM. I think they're trying to set it up for sometime next week. My overall takeaway from this is that this team probably isn't going to be much for fantasy over the next couple of years. Because, I mean, let's be honest, when you lose your coach and your GM and your starting quarterback might not be available for the first half of the season, you've got some work to do. I think that hurts everybody in that offense, except maybe – no, it hurts everybody. I don't think there's anybody that it's good for.
Yeah, I mean, Kliff did have some questionable play callings as we've seen with DeAndre Hopkins over the last few years. However, he still got the job done for fantasy more times than not, especially this season. Albert asking in the chat, do we expect Nuke Hopkins to get traded this offseason? And then HoovTube, QB1 over there, Hopkins to New England. He's saying, I could absolutely see Hopkins getting sold at this point. He's owed a lot of money. He's an expensive wide receiver. He was good a while on the field, but he still is always an injury risk. Nate, do you think if you're a dynasty manager, are you expecting some movement for DeAndre Hopkins this offseason?
I mean, given what I just said about this team likely going into full rebuild mode, yeah. Why would you hold on to an expensive wide receiver? You're not necessarily looking to win. You're looking to acquire draft picks more than anything next season, I think. That's how I'm looking at it as an incoming GM is, okay, this is a mess. We need some youth. The way that we do that is through the draft. We do it in this draft. We do it in the next draft. If you can win 4 or 5 games, great. You don't need a dynamic player like Nuke. You can get picks for him. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, they have guys, too, who did provide Greg Dortch, Trey McBride, all of those players, Rondale Moore as well, if he can stay on the field. So there is some opportunity for this Cardinals offense, but maybe we do see Nuke being moved. If you guys want to move off him now, I wouldn't advise that probably in Dynasty. I'd probably wait a couple months because his value is not going to get worse than it is now, in my opinion. It can only get better. So I'm holding on to him right now in Dynasty. And for redraft, we'll see how this shakes out, who's the quarterback to start the year. Brad's in the chat. He's thinking that maybe Dallas makes some sense or New York Giants. So that's really, I like both those ideas. I could see that helping out those offenses. Don't know if either one of those teams, though, will pay for Nuke at this point in his career with that contract. Also said he'd like him to go to Jacksonville. I like the Jacksonville call, Brad, but Nate, I don't think that happens with recently acquiring Calvin Ridley, although that would be a stacked receiving core. Zay Jones would be there for.
I mean, are we sure Calvin Ridley's going to play again?
Yeah,
just because they acquired his contract doesn't mean that he's
Ridley. Why wouldn't he, man? He's healthy. It's all good.
I mean, we'll see. But no, either way, it doesn't really make sense. Giants, maybe.
I'm hot on Ridley, man. I'm stashing him. I got him stashed in a couple of places. So
I wish the man well.
We got Dee Dee in the chat saying, sorry she hasn't been around for the last few episodes. She's been busy with the new jobs, but happy she made it tonight. Dee Dee, greatly appreciate you tuning in tonight. Thank you so much. Hope the new job's going well for you. Nate, outside of Arizona, Lovie Smith fired by the Houston Texans as well. Top candidates to replace him, D'Amico Ryan, that would be really fun, from the 49ers. Jonathan Hannon from the Eagles defensive coordinator. And then again, Shane Steichen, the Eagles offensive coordinator. Is there one of these candidates that entices you that could maybe turn this team around? Obviously, they're probably going to get a quarterback at that number 2 pick, whether that's CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, or Will Levis is yet to be determined.
Right. I don't know. There seems to be this plague as of late of these coordinators with no head coaching experience coming into these teams and just really not doing super well. So no, I think for some of these teams, I think Arizona needs to go after a veteran. They need a veteran head coach. The Keim and Kingsbury both being gone at the same time makes me think they might think they have a shot at Peyton if they give him full control, which I think could be interesting in Arizona. It's a warm climate for an older guy. Like, what more could you want? It's like half retirement, right? I don't know.
Not NFL head coaching, I'll tell you that. But
I think
the weather for sure.
I think for me, it's D'Amico Ryan. I think that's probably the most exciting hire that any of these teams can make that's not an established head coach.
Yeah. I do wonder, like, how much of D'Amico Ryan's success, I mean, he is a great head coach, but how much of that success does stem from having a great defense in place, already kind of having a system there as well before Bob Saleh moved on. So something to keep in mind there. But I would prefer D'Amico Ryan, but I think Streichen's going to get hired somewhere too. But I just love Nick Sirianni so much. I don't know how good the other coaches are. I just don't know as much about it. I'm sure they're great coaches, but Nate, in other news here, Denver, they're also looking at candidates: D'Amico Ryan, Dan Quinn, Jim Harbaugh, and Raheem Morris, the Rams defensive coordinator. Obviously, this is kind of a bigger pool they're pulling from. Sean Payton added to this list as well that they've spoke to. So Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, those are the sexy additions here, Nate, if they can grab one of those guys. Dan Quinn, obviously established, and Raheem Morris really putting himself on the map this season for the Rams. Struggling team, but the defense, it didn't waver too often. How do you feel about your Denver Broncos, Nate? Is there one candidate that sticks out to you?
Well, what I think is interesting, there have been reports in the media here today, and I think a little bit nationally, that the Broncos have already told the Saints, like, we'll give you what you want. They've already discussed a trade package to get Peyton's contract. So I think that's kind of where this franchise is going. I think the Walton family and Penner, I think what they want to do is they want to make a splash, because CU just did. They just brought in Coach Prime, and that's all anybody can talk about. The Broncos are almost like non-existent in the news right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and there's been a lot of talk in local media about that, about how, okay, ball's in your court, Broncos. CU's been awful for years, and they went out and got Deion Sanders. What are you going to do? I think their push is for Sean Payton. I think that that's where they see everything going. They're going to do some of these other interviews to fulfill requirements, if you will, do their due diligence with guys like Dan Quinn, Jim Harbaugh, D'Amico Ryans. But ultimately, I think it comes down to it's probably going to be Sean Payton. And if it's not Sean Payton, then it's Dan Quinn.
And not to speculate too much here, Nate, but if Sean Payton is the head coach here, does he have another redemption story? Can he redeem Russell Wilson like he did Drew Brees and kind of salvage his career? Or is this a situation where you're still hands off in fantasy come August, despite who the head coach is? Russell Wilson at this point, probably going at the back end of drafts, maybe almost undrafted. A little more buzz will get around him again if Sean Payton's there. But how are you valuing guys like Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, and of course, Courtland Sutton?
Well, you know how I feel about Tim Patrick. I think he's one of those like late round guys you can get, or you'll probably be able to pick up off free agency the first couple of weeks of the season and redraft. But target him value right now in Dynasty, you can get him for like a 4th round pick. It's pretty silly for what his upside is. I'm actually excited because Russell Wilson had 28 and 30 points in his last 2 games with the new head coach. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, this is the scoring in my Wacko Chaos League. So he might have scored more if I went to a normal PPR league. He played better the last 2 games. He looked more efficient. He looked more comfortable. And it looked like an offense he actually liked running. And that's what Peyton has said he would do.
Bad look for Nathaniel Hackett, my friend. Bad look for
horrible look. But we all knew this. We all knew this.
I don't know. I think there's still a lot to be determined. I would still probably invest in Jerry Jeudy next year. You know, he was great. He was averaging over 16 points per game when healthy this season, Jerry Jeudy. He could have been a low-end wide receiver 1 if he played all season. So I will be investing in Jerry Jeudy here come 2023, Nate. And I'll probably also be investing in Tim Patrick. I don't know about Courtland Sutton, though. I think he's going to creep up there a little much right now. We don't have any underdog ADPs out, but I'm sure we're going to get those in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how things, especially for dynasty purposes, how ADPs and startups change here with all of this going on.
Yeah. Last one, major news for head coaching here. Steve Wilks is interviewing with the Panthers. Nate, you've kind of been vouching for Steve Wilks to get this job as well. Are you interested in Steve Wilks being the head coach, and do you think it gives us any value? You are a Carolina Panthers stan, though. Like, did you like? You backed him. You wanted that was one of your best bets earlier in the season. Well, not earlier in the season, but a couple weeks ago as well. So, are you back in on the Panthers if Steve Wilks is the guy?
Yes, but here's the problem: he's not going to get the job, because if he had gotten them to the playoffs, he'd have gotten the job. He didn't push him through I'm glad they're interviewing him. And if he does get the job, like that's fantastic. I think he will do well with this offense. I think we saw this team kind of start to find an identity towards the end of the season. I'd like to see him be able to carry that on. So should he get the job? I mean, I'm not like hyped, not like Sam Darnold QB1, but like Sam Darnold back in QB2, QB3.
It's gonna be interesting what they do at the quarterback position, honestly, because they're gonna go get someone. I don't think they're gonna roll in with Sam Darnold again.
Right.
But who that is, I'm not totally sure. If it is a Jimmy Garoppolo, I could see Derek Carr. Honestly, Derek Carr kind of makes a lot of sense to me.
I think Carr's gonna end up in New York, but
we got so this is Brad. Brad is a Panthers fan. Is that correct here, Nate?
He's a very big Panthers fan.
Okay, yes. Yeah. Brad Bolt in the chat saying Steve Wilkes, D'Amico Ryans, Ken Dorsey, or Ben Johnson for me is who I'd like to see. Brad Johnson, of course, a huge Panthers fan, Australian Panthers fan, so just dope all around. I like Ben Johnson, honestly, out of that group. I think Ben Johnson can really coach. Ken Dorsey would probably be my two. So I do agree with Brad here. Regardless, they do need a new offensive coordinator. Nate, what's some of the minor news around the NFL? Just to note, Falcons defensive coordinator Dean Pease, longtime guy there, retires. So just something to note there. Falcons defense could regress here in 2023. Joe Woods out as the Cleveland defensive coordinator. And this was like long overdue. They have some stellar players on that defense, but the last 2 years, they haven't been nearly as good as they should be. Gerard Mayo is the first candidate interviewed over there. I like that hire a lot if that is what comes to fruition.
God, see, this is when you start to feel old, when these guys you grew up watching and like remember getting drafted start getting these coaching jobs, and you're like, but why? I remember when you. That's a really good hire. We got the Joe Woods experience in Denver a few years back as DC. It wasn't great, and I don't know how he held on to that job that long in Cleveland, because, like you said, they had pieces and parts, and they just never really got there.
Yeah, I'll be excited to see what Gerard Mayo, if he does get the call, what he can do there as well. Last minor news here, Nate. Titans, they do fire offensive coordinator Todd Downing. I think this is they're going to get an upgrade here. And if Vrabel is the guy and he is not going to leave for another college job, Ohio State's the one that's kind of getting rumored out there. He's an Ohio fuck, so makes sense there. But are you excited for what the Titans offense can be in the future here? Probably no Ryan Tannehill. They could move off him this offseason as well.
Well, I'll be interested to see what they do in the interim. They have to move off of Tannehill. He had one good season. He's been a hindrance to this offense for the most part. They have no passing game, but you can't hand the keys to Malik Willis next season, can you?
No.
So what do you maybe go after Derek Carr, like a 1 or 2 year deal?
I think a Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, like same tier, make a push at Geno Smith if he isn't going to get signed by the Seahawks quickly. Even like there actually has been some rumors out there. Like the first rumors I'm hearing, just because I am a little more plugged into some Packers news, that Aaron Rodgers, if he is on the move, it could be to Tennessee. I don't project that to happen. I think we talked about it last night. I think he stays in Green Bay, but I think they're going to be aggressive here. They have a win now mentality. Derrick Henry only has so long left of being an elite running back here, Nate. So I think they're going to do whatever they can to upgrade that quarterback position and the offensive coordinator as well.
Well, they have to. And like you said, Mike Vrabel wants to win. So if he sticks around, this team's going to do whatever they can. And Tennessee's got a good ownership group. And those fans are very lucky because this group is trying to do everything they can to win. The Tannehill acquisition at the time, we all laughed, but it panned out for him for a couple of seasons. The A.J. Brown move probably wasn't such a great move, but they got Treylon Burks. So, I mean, for the most part, this organization makes good decisions, and I expect them to move on from Tannehill, which we'll see if he lands somewhere. Tampa Bay, I hear, might be looking for a quarterback. I think it's a couple of years before the Titans are good again. But I think once they get Malik Willis in the role that they want him in, I think that might be a pretty explosive offense.
I'm there with you, Nate. That's going to do it for us for the news section of the show. Let's go ahead and move into headline hijinks. Want to again thank all the IBT family for tuning in. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Let's jump in here. All right, headline hijinks here. Tonight, Nate, I want to talk about our favorite NFL postseason bets. And we're going to turn this into our Between Bets article, which is going to be out on the site, a new series coming for you guys this offseason. So excited to get into that. Nate, let's talk postseason bets because right now, at least I was checking out DraftKings today and a couple of my other smaller local books, and there was some really good opportunity out there. What was your favorite bet looking around here, and did you like what you saw in the market overall? Muted as well, Nate.
Obviously, Vegas always wants to win, so it is what it is. But there's always some good things you can find. Every week, I find bets that I like. I'm going to start off my favorite one. It's a Jacks of all trades. It's a same game Jacksonville special parlay. There's 2 bets on this one. It's really super simple. It's Trevor Lawrence, 275 plus passing yards, Etienne 1 plus rushing touchdowns. It's plus 300 odds. This Jacksonville team has been playing very well, and I really believe that if they're going to win this game, they're going to have to do both of these things. Lawrence is going to have a 300-yard passing game, and they need to get Etienne going, and he's going to need to be effective in the red zone.
It depends for me what kind of Chargers defense we get, honestly. The Chargers defense has been spectacular as of late, so I am a little worried that maybe we don't see the big game out of T-Law that we've seen earlier in the season. But I understand the call here. This is over on DraftKings, I take it?
Of course. I thought that was assumed. My bad.
Okay. Nope. All good. All right. I like that first one there. So that's specifically you're targeting a wild card matchup here. I'm going to go a little bit more longer term in the playoffs with my first bet here. I'm going to go with my headline, Cash Money Cash. CMC to lead playoff rushing. This is over on DraftKings as well. Plus 500 for Christian McCaffrey to have the most playoff rushing yards among all active players. This right now he leads the group. He is the favorite, and I think it's for good reason, guys. He's over Josh Allen plus 700, Miles Sanders plus 800, Joe Mixon and Jalen Hurts at plus 1,000. Nate, how do you feel about this one? The reason I went with it is because last year, the 49ers, they were really good when they ran the ball in the playoffs, average 138 yards in those first 2 games, came back against the Rams in the NFC Championship game, ended up only rushing for 50 yards, got spanked in that one. So I think they want to keep Brock Purdy away from making mistakes. What's the best way to do that? Hand the ball to Christian McCaffrey as much as you can. This is why you go out for a guy like Christian McCaffrey. He's a dynamic playmaker. He's a queen on a chessboard is what Christian McCaffrey is, guys. And right now, the Seahawks are a great matchup for running backs, top 5 on the season for RBs, and the Vikings also a plus matchup as well. And that could be who their divisional round opponent is. So, Nate, how do you feel about CMC here in the playoffs?
Well, everything that you just said, this is why you go out and get a guy like this. And they're in a situation where you don't want to put all this in your rookie quarterback's hands. As good as Brock Purdy has been, this is different. This is the NFL playoffs. These teams come to play. So, yeah, I'm on board with you. And this is a team that makes a deep run. I don't even think they need to get to the Super Bowl for this to be true. I think if they play 2 games in the playoffs, this will end up being true.
I think if they get to the NFC Championship game, which is where I have them at least getting to, I think this will absolutely come true. Nate, is there anyone else on this list that you're seeing? Like Josh Allen, obviously the next favorite, because if he makes a run, he's going to be using his legs. Him, Miles Sanders, Joe Mixon, Hurts. And then it's like Singletary, Pollard, Pacheco. Like that's the next tier down. So like I feel like Christian McCaffrey feels like the heavy favorite, and for plus 500 feels like a really good value to me. Is there someone else on that list that scares you?
Jalen Hurts would be the one, because if Philly makes a deep run, he's going to use his legs a lot in these playoffs. He's going to have to. He's really the only one. I mean, I don't think they're going to do that to Josh Allen. That's why they've got James Cook and Devin Singletary. Unless those 2 guys are not efficient, he's going to rush well. I just don't think he'll be the leading rusher. I think it's really between McCaffrey and Hurts.
Okay, so you might be laying a little bit on Hurts as well, which that comes in right now at plus 1,000. So if you like that one, guys, take up Hurts on this. Albert asking, do we think Elijah Mitchell takes away production from CMC? I don't really think so, man. I don't think you go out. Like, this is when Christian McCaffrey is somewhat healthy. He's dealing with a low ankle, but he played a lot last week. I don't think he would have played as much last week if he was injured that seriously. This is why you go out and get a veteran like Christian McCaffrey. He's a dynamic playmaker through the air, on the ground. I think we see a little bit of a change of pace here from Eli Mitchell, but I don't think it's enough to deter me from taking this bet here. Christian McCaffrey leads all playoff rushing, plus 500 is my first one here, Nate. Go ahead, Nate. Do you have one specific for this week or a future one that we should be looking at?
So I stuck with all this week. I'm an in the moment guy when there are games to be played. So sorry I didn't go any futures, but I think you're going to like this one, Seth. Captain Christian Kirk lands his ship in the end zone. He's going to score a touchdown this weekend, Seth. Christian Kirk is going to catch a touchdown pass. Now, he had 7 touchdowns through 10 weeks, but since week 10, he's only had the 1. But we saw him get more involved last week against Tennessee, more involved than he's been in weeks, and he got a touchdown. This is for all the marbles. This is a Jacksonville team that wasn't supposed to make the playoffs. They were supposed to be way worse than they've been this year, and they're hot. And I think Christian Kirk is a big part of that. We've seen Zay Jones fade the last couple of weeks. I think he gets involved too. This is going to be a double-headed attack. It's going to be a heavy passing attack. They're going to run the ball as much as they can, and I think they can. I think they win this game. Maybe I'm crazy, but I really like Christian Kirk.
I don't think you're crazy at all. I'm actually leaning that way a little bit as well. I think the betting public is as well, joining you in that, Nate. So I like your anytime TD call here on Christian Kirk, plus 140 on DraftKings. Pretty generous odds. I agree on that. It's going to be a tough one, and the Chargers corners have not been great this season. That's one of their parts of the defense. It's really let them down. Of course, Derwin James will be out there, but with all the marbles on the line, I like plus 140 to Christian Kirk. I believe that's a Saturday night game, or Saturday afternoon, or no, I think Saturday night game.
It's a Saturday night game.
So I'm going to move to my next bet here, and this is going to be my NFC Championship prediction here. I'm going to go chalk zone, and I'm referring to a little bit of a play on words here back to it's an early 2000s Nickelodeon show. Chalk Zone had way too short of a run, if you ask me. It was a damn good show. So I'm going to go with the chalk here. I'm taking Philly versus San Francisco 49ers plus 200 on DraftKings. Guys, I think this is a value. Obviously, I am taking the chalk here, but I'm looking around the NFC now, and I don't see a team. I thought the Vikings a couple weeks ago could do it, and it would have probably deterred me, but they just got smoked a couple weeks ago by the Packers, and I'm not even sure they make it past the Giants here in the first round. Nate, is there a team that can stop either Philly or San Francisco in the NFC? Because I don't see it, and I'm willing to bet it for plus 200 here.
No, this is a steal. I really can't believe it's plus 200. I could see plus like 110, 115, somewhere in that range. But this is the most likely outcome in the NFC. And at plus odds on the money line, you kind of have to put money on that. I like this call a lot, Seth.
They're both going to be at home. They're 2 games if they can advance as well. So I'm with it. Hooves is saying, speaking facts on Chalk Zone. Let's go, baby. You know it. Nate, I'll round us out here, and I'll throw it back to you. I'm going to go with my Super Bowl pick here. And I'm going to go episode V, Shiesty Strikes Back. Joe Burrow and the Bengals, they're getting back to the Super Bowl this year. Plus 450 right now on DraftKings. However, if you don't want to go with that, I would actually prefer taking, like, instead of putting a full unit on plus 450, I'm going to put half a unit on Bengals Eagles plus 1,400, and then half a unit on Bengals 49ers plus 1,600. You're getting better odds. So just break it in half, because I really don't see anyone else coming out from the NFC. Nate, how do you feel about my call with Joe Burrow and the Bengals? I think what it comes down to me, and I talked about a little bit about this last night with you on Player Profiler, is that they have the best defense. I think the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals put all their offenses together. I think they're all elite. The Bengals have the best defense. They're going to get some guys back healthy here in the playoffs as well. The Bills are just too banged up. At the safety position, no Von Miller. The Chiefs have not got their act together all year on the defensive side of the ball. I'm going Bengals here. This was, of course, your Super Bowl pick last year as well in the playoffs. Are you backing me with the Bengals, or would you go a different direction here?
You know, I've been back and forth on this for the last probably like 3 or 4 days because of what happened in Buffalo. And there's so much like emotion and charge on that team right now, but that stuff fades. And that said, the Bengals are just the better team, I think, of the 3. And I think you're right. They have the better defense, and You've basically flipped me over the last 24 hours. I'm on Bengals now. I think this is a really good call. I like the money line on it. It's really great odds. I think they've turned into my AFC Super Bowl pick this year.
Okay. Would you prefer to take them straight up at plus 450 or maybe go with one of those Bengals Eagles or Bengals 49ers pairings that I was mentioning earlier here?
I'll do all three. Why not?
Okay. So you got some confidence in the Bengals. I'd love to hear from the chat who you guys are taking for the Super Bowl right now. The odds have changed quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. I just think man, I'm excited to see what Joe Burrow can do. This is such a balanced team overall. Zach Taylor has them fired up as well. So excited to see that. Nate, go with your final bet here for Wild Card Weekend. Let's throw it back to that. Get out of futures here.
So this one is New York Giants jonesing for more. I have made a 180 on Daniel Jones this year because I did not like him at the beginning of the season, but I've loved the growth this kid has shown. And on DraftKings, over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I really, really like it. I didn't put the odds down like a dummy as I was doing the show sheet. I believe it was in that plus 400 range, somewhere around there. I think he's going to throw a couple of touchdowns. They're not going to be able to run the ball as much. He's not going to be able to be nearly as mobile as he's been. I think he throws one to Slayton. I think we see one to Bellinger. I think this is a somewhat high-scoring game, and I think the Giants come out on top. And I like Daniel Jones for probably 3 touchdowns.
Minnesota defense has been absolutely atrocious against the pass the last couple of weeks. So I would be on board for this. Again, not 100% sure what the odds are on this one. But yeah, I would be on board for this. My only concern is maybe he does have 7 rushing touchdowns on the year. So I could see him maybe using his legs once as well. This is going to be a fun one, man. I think the Giants and Brian Dable, by resting their starters, I think that was smart, actually, Nate. I think that was a really good call by them. Look what happened to the Chargers. I know you want momentum. I know you want to build that momentum. But the Chargers lost Mike Williams possibly for this one, and that could be a huge loss. So I think the Giants resting Saquon, resting Daniel Jones, I think it's going to play into possibly your Daniel Jones anytime TD prop here, or double TD prop.
Let's hope.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into the final section of the show. We're going to jump into some Ring of Fire here. I do want to pull up Hoove. He's talking about his Super Bowl pick. He's going 49ers Chiefs. I don't know, Hoove. I don't know, man. I don't believe in the Chiefs. Maybe that's just me being a hater. They have an easy they could have an easy path with the first game, and then possibly not as difficult game in the second game. But we'll see what happens there, guys. Let's go ahead and jump into some Ring of Fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got something real special planned for you tonight. This is the Ring of Fire, featuring our special guest, Kyle Scott. Now y'all saddle up, strap in. We're gonna have a real good time.
All right, Ring of Fire. We are back, guys, and we are joined by a man who makes us sound good on the audio version of the podcast. Yes, we have an audio version of the podcast. If you guys haven't checked that out as well, it's on iTunes everywhere. Kyle, you are the man behind the mic. How are you doing tonight? How are you holding it down out there in Duburg?
I'm doing fantastic, Seth. Thanks for asking. I'm very happy to be here. I'm happy to look at you guys. First time of the new year. It's like a meeting of the Handsome Club up in here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. IBT, good vibes, good fantasy and betting advice, and of course, good faces as well. Kyle, we are playing Ring of Fire. This is a game we played a time or two back in our college days, and it always led to some good times, some not so good times, face down. You know how it goes here, Nate. Kyle, you want to explain the game here a little bit for the listening audience, please?
Yeah, so it's pretty easy because it's meant to be played by drunk people. So you got your deck of cards. You're going to pull a card. Whatever's on the card, I'm going to read a clue or a question or a prompt of some kind, and you're going to react, respond, answer, that kind of thing. It's pretty simple.
Pretty simple, pretty fun game. If you guys want to play along in the chat, you can definitely do that. Let's go ahead and flip the first card here, Kyle. It is Jack. What is the role for Jack?
So Jack is Never Have I Ever. So that's a
Oh,
pretty fun, easy game we all know how to play.
I don't think we've ever actually got this one. We've done this segment a couple of times. I don't think we've ever done this one. Kyle, how many strikes should we do? Should we do 2 strikes or 3?
Yeah, let's do 2.
Okay. So basically, guys, we got to say something we've never done, hoping that the other people have done it to get one of their strikes down here. Nate, do you want to start us off here?
Sure, why not? Let's see here. Never have I ever gone skydiving.
You think Kyle and I? No, we haven't. Nope, no
I
strikes.
thought maybe Kyle.
I've done paragliding.
Wow. Okay. That is really. How was that? How was that experience, Kyle?
It was fun. It was cool.
Have you seen the video of the guy on, I think it's on TikTok or Instagram, wherever, paragliding, and the hawk lands on his foot?
What? No
And
way.
they float together, dude, for like 4 or 5 minutes. They're like in tandem with each other, and his hawk just comes up and lands on his feet, and he starts petting its tail.
Wow. Okay.
While he's like, I'm not even, the guy's probably like 4,000 feet up in the air on his glide.
Kyle, that's pretty dangerous too, isn't it? Paragliding.
Yeah, I don't know if I did paragliding. I did the one on the boat, like where you're
Parasailing.
Parasailing. Okay, I was about to say, damn, paragliding. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. What even was our question again?
Skydive.
Oh,
Never
yeah.
have I
Okay.
ever.
Okay. Yep. You went. Never have I ever. I'm gonna go. Never have I ever. Never have I ever been to a professional football game outside of Heinz Field.
Well, now wait a minute. That's not fair, because I've never been to a game at Heinz Field, but I've been to lots of Broncos games.
Sucks. You lost
Wait,
one.
you can pull that?
Yeah, buddy. You can take personal shots.
Wow.
I don't think, Kyle, you've ever gone to a professional football game, have you?
No, I have. I went to a Ravens game one time.
That's random as hell, but okay.
Yeah, my family I had family in Baltimore for a weekend or something.
Okay. Kyle, you're playing along with us here? Go ahead and take Nate out here, or ask something else.
Oh, I got you guys. Never have I ever won. Never have I ever won first place in fantasy. I don't think.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm down to 1 here. Nate, do you have any left?
No, I've won plenty of fantasy championships.
Okay. All right. Well,
I suck in
unfortunately,
fantasy.
Nate, you lose this first round. Guys, let's go ahead and flip this next card. See what the next prompt is here, Kyle.
So 5 is 5 guys. You don't have to eat a burger, but you do have to pick the correct answer out of the 5 listed players.
Let's go.
So in honor of the college football championship that just happened, we got which player did not go to TCU? Who is not a horned frog? Right? Horned toad? What are they?
Horned frogs. Yep, that's correct.
Horned frogs.
All right. LaDainian Tomlinson, Larry Brown,
Oh,
Kenneth Davis, Drew Bledsoe,
those are good
Andy
ones.
Dalton.
Oh, I know the answer.
I know.
What was the second name again, Kyle?
Larry Brown,
And then the third answer was
Drew Bledsoe, or Kenneth Davis.
Man, that's tough. I'm gonna go with Larry Brown. Who are you going with, Nate?
Well, I'm going with Drew Bledsoe because he went to Washington State.
Yes, he did, Nate.
Oh,
See, I watched Drew Bledsoe play in college, so
that's fair enough. Fair enough here, guys. We got here Dee Dee saying science fair and writing first place for her. So good to hear that. Good to hear that. Kyle, let's go ahead and flip this next card here. What do we got for 10?
So 10 is categories. So this is a classic.
Ooh.
This is a holdover from the original game.
Name
Someone
stat,
names
baby.
a category, and then you just have to keep going until you can't or you mess up.
Let's
Usually
go.
someone will say a duplicate.
Okay. Nate, you want to pick the category for us?
I do. I'm just trying to think of one you guys can't get because I'm old and you're young. Oh, 90s grunge bands.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. All right. Go ahead and start us out, Kyle.
Mud Honey.
Ooh, nice one.
Does Nirvana count?
Yeah. Pearl
Nirvana,
Jam.
baby. Let's go.
I
You're
said
up, Nate.
Pearl Jam.
Does Meat Puppets count? Can Meat Puppets count?
Absolutely. Oh, yes, they count.
The Foo.
The Foo.
The Foo.
There's no band called The Foo.
The Foo Fighters. The Foo Fighters, bro.
Okay, Foo Fighters. Yes, they count. They count.
Yeah, let's go. All right. You're up, Nate.
Helmet.
Sonic Youth.
Yes. Kyle, you got good taste in music.
Oh, shoot.
Thank you.
What, Third Eye Blind?
No.
Okay.
Kyle, vote on this one. Are they were no.
I don't think that.
Are they blind?
No, I was just trying to name any 90s band I could think of. So I'll take the L there, gentlemen. All right, we're going to flip this next card. Good topic there here, Nate. 3. Kyle, what is 3 for us?
3 is me. Answer a question about yourself. So the question is, what is something you have planned for 2023 that you're most looking forward to?
So quickly to recap this last question, just catching up in the chat here. Brad saying just throw two random words together to make a band name and say it with conviction. The Puzzle Monsters. And then Dee Dee pointing out Alice in Chains. Yeah, don't know how I don't think of that one.
Yeah.
That is a good one.
Right? I would have
There.
gotten Alice in
That is a
Chains
good one.
next. One of
Um,
my favorites.
all right. So Kyle, question again one more time for card number 3.
Yeah, what are you most looking forward to in 2023 that you've planned?
Nate, you're a travel man. You travel the world with your son and your wife. Where are you heading to in 2023? Now, especially like it's a pretty dope time in the world. No COVID-19. I mean, still COVID-19, but not what it was a couple years ago. So we can rip
Right.
around, have a good time.
We actually have 2 fun things planned. I'm about to go on a cruise in like 3 weeks. Stressful. Still got to pack. I'm looking forward to a cruise, and we're going to Mexico in July again.
Where's
As
the
always.
cruise at, Nate? What's the cruise?
So we fly into Houston and then port in Galveston, and then we go to Honduras and Costa Maya, Mexico, and Cozumel, Mexico.
Okay.
I wish, Brad. Those are really long, expensive cruises.
What cruise line you taking here, Nate?
Royal Caribbean, man. First time on Royal Caribbean. Now, this is my 3rd different cruise line. I've been on 3 cruises in my life. So
What other cruise lines have you been on? Can you recommend any of them?
Disney cruises are fun. I just wish I was a
Even
little
for
bit
adults?
older. I would, yes, for adults, they're awesome. For little kids, they're awesome. But when you're 19, it kind of sucks. Carnival's a budget cruise.
I've heard that. I have heard that. I didn't know if that was true or not. There was a lady going on like a TikTok rant, like defending Carnival. So
Carnival's fine. Carnival's fine. It could have been worse. Nobody
Yeah.
got COVID. I mean,
Yeah.
it was 2017, but still, nobody got COVID.
how much is a cruise? How much is a cruise? Would you say for like a week, like a cheaper cruise? Would you say, Nate?
We
One person.
spent for one person.
Like per person, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was like $1,200 a piece when we went, and that was 2017. I couldn't tell you now. My in-laws. My family is taking me. They're not my in-laws. Who am I kidding?
There we go. There we go. Interesting. Okay. I like cruises, man. I've never been on one, but I like the idea of it. Let us know in the chat. Have you guys been on cruises? Would love to know your guys' experience, what you recommend. I've always been afraid. I've actually always been afraid to go on a cruise. I feel like I'd be the guy to fall overboard, to be honest. Like that,
Dude,
Kyle,
it's
you
bro,
know me,
it's
Kyle.
nearly impossible.
I'm a little bit of a clumsy fella. You know that, Kyle. So like I could see myself getting a little hammed up, mixing it up at the cocktail bar, you know. It is like you can get all inclusive drinks. I think that would do me over. I'd see myself overboard. I don't know if you live from that. Kyle, any thoughts here on cruises or your boy here overboarding?
No, I don't think you would fall. I think Katie or someone else would probably like save you before that happened. You would get steered away from the edge before you fall.
But if you did fall, you're screwed. That's like
you die pretty much, don't you?
It's a long fall.
And when you hit water like that at that speed, it's like basically hitting concrete.
Oh, no doubt.
It's not good.
You probably also get like wrapped up in the propellers and stuff. So
what's wild is the boat we're on is like 18 stories.
Wow, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. We got Eric in the chat saying cruises. Good to see you tonight, Eric. Appreciate you tuning in, man. Cruises, crazy good values. And then we have Hoob saying, I've been on Amtrak. Does that count?
Dude, we took the train from New York City to Boston out of Penn Station underneath Madison Square Garden. 10 out of 10 recommend. It's the best 4 hours I've ever been on a train.
Interesting. I took an Amtrak one time from Johnstown, Pennsylvania, so very western ghetto Pennsylvania, all the way to New York City. I enjoyed it. I worked the whole time. The Wi-Fi was a little spotty. Didn't really enjoy that, but I was able to write. I missed my Amtrak on the way home though, and it was a nightmare getting home. Then I had to take a bus from Harrisburg back to and then they left me in State College when I didn't live in State College at that point. At like a sketchy, they're like, yeah, another bus is gonna come get you. Thankfully, someone did, but it was just I got on. It was terrible experience. Hoove is saying Amtrak is awful, Nathan. It depends what you do. Depends what you do, Hoove. Kyle, do you have any Amtrak experience, brother?
I don't. I've never taken a train. I've thought about it a lot. Every time I thought about traveling for a while, I was like, oh, maybe I'll take a train. Maybe I'll do the Amtrak. But it's just kind of like inconvenient to really do it. So I've never been on an Amtrak.
In Pennsylvania, you at least have to go to be going to like very specific destinations, I feel like. I might be taking the Amtrak later this year, actually, and the thing I'm looking forward to coming up, and that's actually planning a trip out to possibly see Jen and Nate go to the NFL draft on our time out there as well. Link up with some other creators in the space. And I'm thinking about taking the Amtrak from Elizabethtown, where my aunt and uncle live, post up there, leave my car at their house, take the Amtrak from there into Philly, catch a flight out of Philly to go meet up with Nate and Jen. So that might be happening. Might be trying the Amtrak again. Hopefully I don't miss the train this year on the way back, but we will see what happens. Much rather get stranded in New York than Philly. When I got stranded last time, at least Katie was there and we had a couple cocktails to pass the time, you know. So here we got Brad saying, a lot of these words you guys are saying mean nothing to this Aussie. Haha. I have zero idea about city name. Yeah, okay, that's fair. He said he has zero idea about city names. Completely understandable. We're talking about bottom redneck Western Pennsylvania towns, Brad. So Nate might not even know where we're coming from here.
I know.
Yeah. So guys, I'm looking forward to the NFL draft. Nate, I hope we can do that trip. I got to book tickets here soon while they still remain pretty cheap here. But I'm excited to come out, see Colorado for a little while, experience some of the fine things Colorado has out there, if you know what I mean. And
well, we were voted worst city to raise a family in recently. So out of 151 qualifying cities. So are you that excited to come out here, Seth?
Hey, I'm not raising a family though. I'm coming out for about
that's true.
5 to 7 days. We'll venture over to Kansas City. I've always wanted to see the plains of Kansas. No idea why. Read a lot of Buffalo Bill as a kid, so I'm excited to see that.
Hey, we can go see Buffalo Bill's grave. It's not that far from our house.
Let's do it, baby. I'm in with that. Kyle, do you have anything you're looking forward to here in 2023?
Yeah. The two baseball teams that I like are going to be playing on my birthday.
Ooh.
They're playing each other on my birthday, so I'm going to be seeing that. The Mets and Mariners, if you're interested. And so they're both going to be good. for the first time in my life at the same time. That's crazy. It's just going to be really exciting. Gonna get to go see the Mets, maybe lose, like I always do.
There we go. There we go. Hey, it makes sense, man. In New York, correct? I'll be in New York.
Yep, they're going to be in Queens.
Okay.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Queens is dope. Queens is really dope. I went on a trip to Queens once. I love it. It's a little nook of New York if you get in the right neighborhood. So love Queens. Guys, let's go ahead and flip the last card here. Maybe we'll do one more. We'll see. We'll see how much everyone wants to hang out with us tonight. We got King here. Kyle, what is King?
King is king of the times. Everyone answers a question about the current time of year. So, what was your favorite song that came out last year?
Oh, I got it. Okay, I'm going to take us first. I'm going to go Good Day by Mike. Mike with a period, just Mike, formerly known as Mike Stud. Great song. Gets me, like, honestly, just put it on throughout your workday. Put it on early in the morning. It gets the vibes going, you know? I'm flowing. I'm going. Mike, Good Day. You'll have a good day. It's on a lot of my playlists this season. One of my top 5 songs in my Apple Music end of the year chart. So I'm going Good Day by Mike. Seriously, guys, check it out. Like, I think a lot of his music is like good vibes and feeling good. And that's what we're about here at IBT. So I'm going Mike here. Good Day. Kyle, Nate, either you have your favorite song of 2022 pulled up. Nate, do you listen to music that's come out in the last year?
I'm currently Googling 2022 album releases because
wow.
I know there's the thing is I know there's stuff I've liked, but like my brain has been football since like strictly football since the beginning of August. So when I get
do you listen to music when you work, Nate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I listen to like familiar stuff like Deftones, Nirvana, Wu-Tang, Misfits, stuff like that.
Nate's throwing it back. He doesn't want to be experimenting with stuff. Kyle, do you have a favorite song from 2022 here? I know you also are kind of a throwback genre type of guy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I listen to some bands that are like still making music today. I listen to active bands, unlike some people, Nate. I was trying to find a song, but I was gonna say the album because I can't find like a specific song, and I don't know.
We'll take the album.
So it's by an Australian punk band called The Chats.
Let's go, Brad.
They're really good, baby. Brad. You should see them if you have a chance. The Chats. I'm sure you know about them. Australia's not that big, huh? The album's called Get Fucked.
Dude, punk bands have the best album titles.
They're really good too. They're a lot of fun.
Well, how would you describe their style, Kyle? Like skate punk? Like, are they more like a speed punk? Like no,
I don't know.
Punk?
Kyle can define.
Are we going like Dead
punk
Kennedys, Misfits, where it's like that horror political punk?
No, it's kind of like goofy punk. They're like, it's very like sarcastic and fun and like goofing around.
Have you heard of Guttermouth?
No.
Well, you should if you like that kind of punk rock. Check out a band called Guttermouth.
That's like that comment earlier from Brad, who literally said, "Put two names together, gutter punk."
Bro, you have no idea how weird the late '90s punk scene was.
Yeah, it sounds awful. That's why I listen to 2022 music. Does anyone in the chat have a recommendation here for 2022 music that they enjoyed? Brad, any feedback here on Kyle's? If Brad's still with us, any feedback on Kyle's favorite song of 2022 or album? Go fuck yourself.
No, it's Get Fucked.
Oh, Get Fucked. Okay, sorry. Nate, anything final to add, or we're just gonna say that you don't listen to 2022 music?
I guess I didn't listen. I mean, I did actually. I see. Here's the problem: is that I listened to Drake's "Honestly Nevermind" album. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it. It was awful,
dude. Drake's awful now. You can't be listening to Drake.
Awful.
Come on.
Everybody told me Drake's great. Drake's
great,
guy.
Drake was great like 10 years ago, bro. You missed that train, dog. We got We got Brad saying, "Not my favorite music, but it's not terrible," referring
Glowing
to
review.
referring to Kyle's Australian music. What was the title one more time, Kyle, of that album?
Get fucked.
Get fucked. All right, get fucked there. We got got Brad saying Kyle just listening to the song.
Yeah.
They say, "Jeez,
That's a
I
good
can't."
one. Yeah.
All right. Let's flip one more card here, guys. We'll round it out tonight with this. Appreciate everyone tuning in. If you guys are tuning in for the first time, please subscribe to the channel. We got fantasy football goodness, some nonsense along the way. Kyle, have we done 5 yet? I think we have, right?
We did.
All right, let's flip that one. Let's go. Have we done 9?
No, 9. 9 is 9 times out of 10. So it feels like 9 times out of 10, the most popular toy on Christmas morning is a video game console. How many consoles can you name that have come out since the 90s?
Oh.
Should I go first?
Should you take the 90s and as far as you can know, and then I'll go after that. Okay. Yep. Go for it.
Okay, so we have since the 90s. Since the 90s. So we've got Super Nintendo,
Okay.
Sega Dreamcast, Nintendo Wii, Nintendo Switch, the Nintendo 64, the Nintendo GameCube, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, Xbox, Xbox 360.
Wow, it's pretty good. Xbox One.
Nate's running away with it.
Xbox One.
What else? I know there's some I'm missing.
Wii? Did you say the Wii and the Switch?
Oh yeah, I own a Wii.
I think we pretty much got all the consoles, didn't we?
What was not the Switch? What was the one before the Switch? The Nintendo one.
Oh,
the
PlayStation. Wii U.
And what was the PlayStation one?
There was the PSP, but that's a handheld.
Yes, PSP.
There's
that
PSP
counts. It's like the Switch.
The Game Boys and the DSs. I think that pretty much. Covers it. Honestly, Albert saying PSP in the chat. GameCube. Albert saying as well. Brad saying IBT brought to you by Nintendo. I wouldn't go that far there, Braddy.
If they want to pay us,
Kyle, is there anyone we missed that we didn't talk about? Any of the consoles?
I don't think so. Nate pretty much covered all the bases.
Nate, that was impressive, bro. You didn't only name old consoles; you also named new consoles.
Well, it's pretty easy because it's like PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I guess that.
But then I had a roommate who was really into video games right before I met Jen, and he had like the little PSP. We had the GameCube. He had the PlayStations, and then it just kind of went from there.
There we go. There we go. Well, I can't thank you guys enough for tuning in, for hanging out with us tonight. It's been so awesome to talk a little fantasy football, have some fun, do a little hijinks there in Ring of Fire, also going over our best bets. I'm thinking we're going to cash out some of them, Nate. I'm excited to see what happens here. I appreciate you bringing your analysis in the short term and in the long term as we talked about some of those futures as well. Guys, stay tuned with us here on IBT Media. We got content coming out here. Still pretty frequently during the off season. Gonna have columns, some articles coming out on the website over here on the YouTube. You can expect us continuing on through Tuesday nights, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, and then also normally before this show starting next week will be 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Will be our DFS golf show with our guys over there on the 19th hole, Connor Coughlin and Bo McBrayer. Just a couple weeks after that as well, we got NASCAR rolling off with the back road. Me, my guy Elliot, Rod Villa Gomez, and the full NASCAR betting community that we're so tight with over there. So want to thank you, Kyle, hanging out with us, being our host of the game show. And Nate, thank you as always for riding shotgun, guys. We'll be back here next week. Until then, everyone, keep it in between. Thanks so much. Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice.